Hey, Mike, guess what?
What?
Mike, raging rivers, hungry bears, drastic avalanches, roaring seas, no matter how prepared you are, a walk in the woods can go from innocent to disaster in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
When pushed to their breaking point, humans are capable of astonishing things that you would never thought of possible.
Yeah.
Listen to In the Wild as they explore the most heroic, terrifying, and phenomenal stories of real people who survived the unsurvivable. Learn what went wrong, what went right, and how you can make it out alive if the worst case ever happened to you. In the Wild podcast reviews on Apple include Love Your Podcast from Laura. It's scary how relentless nature can be. I always enjoy this podcast at work. It keeps me on the edge of my seat. Or how about we go with Hiker 0001? Good stories and good narration. I like when there are sound effects that add to the ambience of the story. In the Wild podcast on Apple Podcasts and everywhere you get your podcast downloads.
Broadcasting across the nation from the East Coast to the West, keeping you up to date on technology while enjoying a little whiskey on the side. With leading-edge topics, along with special guests, to navigate technology in a segmented, stylized radio program. The information that will make you go, Pull up a seat, raise a glass with our hosts as we spend the next hour talking about technology for the common person. Welcome to TechTime Radio with Nathan Mumm.
Well, welcome to Tech Time with Nathan Mumm, the show that makes you go, technology news of the week. The show for the everyday person, talking about technology, broadcasting across the nation with insightful segments on subjects weeks ahead of the mainstream media. We welcome our radio audience of 35 million listeners to an hour of insightful technology news. Each week, our show covers the weekly top technology subjects without any political agenda. We verify the facts, and we do it with a sense of humor in less than 60 minutes, and of course, with a little whiskey on the side. I'm Nathan Mumm. Welcome to our show today. We live stream during our show on 5 of the most popular platforms, including YouTube, Twitch.tv, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We encourage you to watch us live or visit us online at TechTimeRadio.com or become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/TechTimeRadio. That's patreon.com/TechTimeRadio, and listen to the show with special features that help support the show. You can also tweet us during the show at #TechTimeRadio. We'll do our best to respond to your tweets on the air. And if you enjoy the show, make sure to give us a 5-star review on whatever podcast service you may use. I'm your host, a technologist with over 30 years of technology expertise, working for Fortune 500 companies across the country. My co-host here, Mike Day, is an award-winning author. Originally from Arizona, Mike's a human behavior expert living in the Seattle area with a master's degree in forensic psychology. Mike is here to keep me from geeking out while providing insight into human behavior and how it interacts with technology. We are two friends from different backgrounds, but bring the best technology show possible every week for our family, friends, and fans to enjoy. All right. We got a packed show today.
Got a packed show every
All right.
day.
Now remember, how I normally end my show, I say what do I say? The technology.
Well, you try to say the science of tomorrow starts with the technology of today.
So that's very
you often get it wrong.
Okay, so the science of tomorrow starts with the technology of today is an important segment for you to think about, because we're going to be talking a lot about science in our upcoming articles. And we're going to be talking about what our current technology that we have in place helps make that science successful and enable us to learn more about different science objects. So just want to keep that in mind there, okay?
All right.
The science of tomorrow starts with the technology of today. There you go. All right. Welcome, everybody. And now, let's start today's show.
Now on today's show.
All right. Today on Tech Time with Nathan Mumm, do you want to own a real Starwars Speeder Bike? You remember the indoor race on the speeder bikes?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to talk about a real live item that you can buy today that is a live speeder bike. All right?
We're going to talk about that, but I'm going to throw in my 2 cents.
What's that?
We'll talk about it when it gets there.
Okay, then we're getting an update, of course, on the social AI search war that's going on, because Bard is now coming to town. Kind of like Santa Claus. You never know what you're going to be getting. So let me just tell you, we're going to be talking about that. And a weeding AI robot might just change the future of sustainable farming. You're going to be talking about that. And guess what? If you have a Ferrari, you have now had a significant data breach happen to you. Ferrari got hacked. So we're going to be talking about that. And
how does that affect me?
Well, it just...
What's it going to do to my Ferrari?
Well, your Ferrari information has now been leaked, so they now know your name. They know your information that's available there. We're going to be talking a little bit more. And Ferrari has a statement on what they said, and it's always the best statement.
Can they mess with my seats?
No, you don't have to pay for your seats. All right. Then we also have Phil Hennessy. He's joining our show again. He's been off for a while. He's been spending a lot of time doing research and detailed research regarding the James Webb Space Telescope. We're going to do a mini-series on that. It's probably a 3-week mini-series. We're going to be talking about that specifically today. And then finally, we have our letter segment back. It has been such a long time for us to do a letter segment. I know you got 2 letters in there. I got 2 letters we're going to talk about. And I'm going to talk about my poor friend Dale that got breached. And he got breached badly. We'll be talking about that. All right, in addition, we have our standard features, including Mike's mesmerizing moment, This Week in Technology, and a possible Nathan Nugget. And hopefully you looked at your Mike's mesmerizing moment already. That's a funny joke. Oh, now you're scrolling through quickly, aren't you? And as always, we have our Pick of the Day whiskey tasting during the commercials to see if our whiskey Pick of the Day gets 0, 1, or 2 thumbs up at the end of the show. So sit back, raise a glass, and welcome to Tech Time with Nathan Mumm. Now it's time for the latest headlines in the world of technology.
Here are our top technology stories of the week.
All right. Our AI social media search is a 2-horse race with Facebook trying to find a mule to get to the gate. So, Facebook decided they're no longer doing Meta, right? So Meta, the whole metaverse and the goggles are gone. They're trying to now get into the AI race. But we do have, again, Microsoft and Google.
I think they may be a little bit behind the curve.
I think so. I don't think that. I think here my analogy is this: like a mule trying to get to the beginning of the race. You may not get that.
I can say I feel bad for them.
I do not.
Okay.
I do not at all. All right. So right now the score is ChatGPT 2, Bard 1. Let's get the latest on the Google Bard from our ABC affiliate.
Google's early access to Bard. That's the company's conversational AI chatbot. Google is inviting some of its Pixel superfans to try it out and possibly offer feedback as a way of training Bard in real-life use. No word yet on when it will fully debut.
All right, so today, Google is opening up limited access to Bard. It's ChatGPT rival, a major step to try to take over the AI world. Now, Bard was initially available for select users in the US and UK. And that didn't go very well. So now you can sign up on a waiting list. I did this morning.
Of course you did.
And I got access to it immediately for TechTime Radio. So it was pretty interesting.
Did you talk to it?
I did. And I'm kind of
Did it call you an idiot?
No, it did. Okay, so Google says its Bard chatbot isn't a search engine. So there's twice on the deal I'm doing that. This is not a search engine. There's a search engine war going on right now. One of these AIs is going to take over Search 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
But Google is so far behind that they do not want to call it a search bot. Essentially what they're calling it is it's a collaborative AI bot that will help you with your search. So they don't want to say that you have to use it for search. So they're trying to say, hey, we own search because we own the old search. And this is now just a collaborative bot.
So this is going to tell me how to do my search? Is
No, it's a search, but they didn't want to say that they're losing, essentially. All right, so Bard was quickly and fluid with an answer of a number of general queries that I did. It did search the web for current stuff, so it was up to date with all the new technology. It generates 3 responses to each user query. So instead of having it just be one item that's there, it does 3 different items. And from there, it's kind of like a multiple choice, choose your own adventure type of scenario where I can kind of choose each of those questions from that. Now, during this whole time, Bard displays a warning sign that it may display inaccurate or offensive information that doesn't represent Google's views. The AI equivalent that says that you must abandon trust when you type here. So all this is a warning sign. Whenever you're on this, all you're doing is warning. You may not get the right information. You may not get the right information. You may not get the right information. Probably the last thing I want to do when I'm searching for someone is that for it to say that the information I have probably is incorrect. Otherwise, why would I search for anything?
Well, I don't know
They're doing that to protect themselves because they had such a bad launch 2 weeks ago.
If you search anything on the internet, you don't even know if it's accurate or not anyway.
Correct. So I don't know why you need warnings. Now, ChatGPT fully works on Bing with Edge, and that's using ChatGPT 4.0. But if you happen to be on the ChatGPT 3.5 server and you were on Monday night, let's say last night, and you decided to do some searches, all of a sudden your search algorithm may have been a little altered. Essentially what happened is there was a bug on the ChatGPT 3.5 server, and essentially all of the searches across all of ChatGPT were displayed in the user's left-hand side of the screen, showing what people were searching on. So you had Chinese people with characters in there you can't read. You had other people doing it. Instead of your search history, it had everybody's search history. They quickly shut it down, and they re-put the ChatGPT current history
on
what
were
hold.
They searching for?
Well, it's just they're having bugs with 3.5. So 3.5 is the one ChatGPT that most people use. Microsoft uses 4.0 on Bing. If you really want to use ChatGPT, you probably want to use the 4.0 on Bing, and you probably don't want to use 3.5 right now. And definitely, I don't think I'm going to be looking to move over to Bard if every single time I do a search, it tells me all this information may be incorrect.
Well, all I have to do is say they'll pay you something, and then you'll use it.
Is it Microsoft Bing? Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
Well, if Bard said that they pay me for every search, then maybe I'd start using that too. All right. Well, Mike, we're all excited to hear about this AI robot. You are the AI robot guy. Why am I the AI robot guy? Well, because when we have AI robot people on our show, that's like your biggest struggle to talk with them, right?
No,
so that's why you got this story.
It depends on the reason why the AI robot exists.
Okay,
if it exists for something that's smart and helpful or beneficial, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I really like my Roomba.
Okay, you do. Yeah, your Roomba, okay. the vacuums, it works really well.
I think there's some ethical problems with some of the other things that we've talked about.
Okay, I think you're going to like this robot. What do we got going on here?
Well, this is a weeding AI robot that could, determine the future of sustainable farming.
Okay.
So researchers at MIT, or Massachusetts Institute of Technology's startup, have found a cutting-edge solutions to the bane of farmers' existence, which are
weeds and rubble, right?
Right, weeds and rubble. The FarmWise team developed a weeding robot that uses AI, artificial intelligence, to identify and snip weeds without disturbing the crops, because that's a big issue, right? If you're spraying chemicals and stuff, you don't want it to affect your crops. So we have a growing population and can't expand the land or the water that's used. So in order to increase the efficiency, we have to come up with new technologies.
For our farming industry, does that make sense?
Right. So FarmWise thinks that AI and data are going to be major players in that journey. The particular robot in question here is called the Titan, which uses machine vision to differentiate between weeds and vegetables like cauliflower, tomatoes, artichokes, and leafy greens. Right now, 15 Titans are roving through 30 large farms in California and Arizona, and their movements are being controlled by iPad-wielding operators who walk alongside the machine.
All right, so how does this work then? So you have somebody that's walking by the robot?
Well, right now it sounds like they have somebody who's either directly controlling it or just watching it to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do.
And the idea is that soon that it'll be
able to... The idea, I would hope, would be that they would just let this thing loose and it would go out and do it on it. Because if you have somebody walking along beside it forever, it's not going to be... Although
I don't know. I would be okay with walking by the weeds if I just didn't have to get down on my back and actually pull the weed itself. That would still save a lot of time.
That has got to be the epitome of Nathanology right there.
Why is that? I don't want to, because
I could walk by it as long as I don't have to do anything about it.
Well, that's right, because I could be,
I could be lazy.
I could be enjoying a little whiskey, and I'm walking there with my iPad, and we're having a good old time.
Lazy.
That's right. All right.
Okay.
Here we go. We'll stop.
At any rate, this is something that I think contributes to society in a more positive way than some of the other things that we've talked about.
All right. Well, story number 3, the world's first flying bike, inspired by Star Wars. franchise hits the market for $500,000.
Can you really say it's inspired by Star Wars?
Well, that's what I can. Let's go to our tech time specialist, Marc, in L.A. for the details.
A hover bike. Well, today we saw that firsthand. The X-Turismo hover bike, a hybrid-powered transport vehicle that works very much like a drone with the ability, though, to transport people. The X-Turismo can stay airborne for about an hour and reach speeds of 60 miles an hour. The person on board is not in control, however. The flight is done by a remote pilot with a control panel resembling a remote control car.
Like Star Wars, and then when I landed, I felt like James Bond.
And 20 orders for this hover bike have already been placed.
Okay.
All right. So first off, you don't control the bike. You get in it, and somebody controls it for you.
Well, right now, yes, that is correct. So you have a remote control.
Does he walk beside you while you clip weeds?
Well, no. The idea is that they don't have the mechanics on the bike itself because it's a hover bike, right?
Yeah.
So it's got 4 big, huge fans that are lifting the bike up itself, and they don't have the ability to move left and right on the actual, what do you want to call steering?
The controls.
The controls to take care of it at this moment. The idea is that they're going to put the remote control that you have into the dash controls, and instead of you driving it as a bike, you will control it as a remote control as you sit on this device itself.
Okay, now here's my thing about the Star Wars things.
Yep.
A long, long time ago,
Yep.
in a galaxy before Star Wars,
Yeah.
there were these things in comic books. You know what I'm talking about?
What do you mean in comic books?
Where you like X-ray glasses and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, on the back of the comic books?
Do you remember the hover bike? Do you remember the hovercraft? You could build with washing machine engines.
I do not remember that. No. Was there one available?
I don't know. They were those. They're like sea monkeys. You know?
Well, sea monkeys are just little
They were
like
ads in a
right?
comic book before Star Wars came out.
All right. Well, this bike has 228 horsepower motor and 4 fans for extra power and stability, and weighs more than 661 pounds. So it's a little heavy, but that's not really that much heavier than a motorcycle, right? So you get motorcycles that are 600 to 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? So that's okay.
About the size of it.
According to the company behind the project, X-Turismo has a wide range of practical uses, from disaster relief to infrastructure inspection to entertainment. Well, entertainment definitely is one. So it was unveiled at the Fuji Speedway in Japan in October of 2021. In 2022, Airwinds Technologies announced the global launch of this performance at the Detroit Auto Show in September. The company reports receiving orders and inquiries from all over the world. And now the X-Turismo is currently available only in Japan for $555,000.
Okay, so that's awesome. I can't wait to see the bumper car action in those races.
So it's very interesting because you don't actually need a license to fly this, because they actually have a license. So here's the interesting part. They are licensing it as a drone remote control. That's why, if you look at why the person has to have the remote control of it, so they don't have independent steering, they don't have independent vehicle license, so they can get away with not getting FAA approval and just classifying this as the standard approval
that doesn't
as a
make
drone.
Me feel comfortable.
Why does it make you feel comfortable?
Well, there is no way that I'm going to sit in one of these things while you're at the controls.
Why
you'd be like, ooh. What about this?
I mean, have you ever seen the Broncos in the bars that you get on when the guy starts out really slow on the machine and then he goes really high and he gets knocked out of that?
Can you imagine the kind of cluster that you would get involved with if
I wouldn't start out slow
this?
with you. I just say, hang on, buddy, here we go. We start doing twirls and all right, okay.
You get bumped, you get shoved into traffic.
At least you fall in the Bronco pit, in this inflatable.
This one I'd like to see the airbag set up.
Okay, I don't know how that's going to work either. All right. Ferrari disclosed data breaches after receiving a ransomware demand. Ferrari has disclosed a data breach following a ransomware demand received after attackers gained access to some of the company's IT systems. We regret to inform you of a cyber incident at Ferrari, where a threat actor was able to access a limited number of systems in our IT environment, Ferrari said in a breach notification letter sent to customers. Ferrari said customer information exposed in incident includes names, addresses, email addresses, and telephone number. However, no financial data was disclosed.
It never is.
I've never seen a press
Never
release
is.
from a company that says the financial data was corrupted. As a policy, though, Ferrari will not be held ransom as paying such demands to fund criminal activity and enable threats across attacks, the company said. Instead, we believe the best course of action was to inform our clients, and thus we have notified our customers of the potential data exposure and the nature of the incident.
Yeah, they basically said, we lost all this information. Some dude got it, but we're not going to pay the ransom. So
as they said,
we're just going to give them all your information.
That's right. They said, you know what? These rich people,
we don't deal with terrorists.
That's right. All right.
As long as they can't mess with my seats, I'm okay with that.
Well, that ends our.
They didn't get my financial data. So.
They didn't get. Ferrari says that they do not negotiate with.
They don't negotiate
cybercrime criminals. Okay. There you go. Well, that ends our top stories of the week. Moving on to our next segment, we have Phil Hennessy back on the show for a multi-part series talking about the details of the James Webb Space Telescope. You're listening to Tech Time with Nathan Mumm. We're going to return after these commercials.
Hey, Mike, I'm looking for some help writing our blog post for TechTime Radio.
Well, you should try Phosphor AI. It's an online service that will save you hours of work with your content creation. Simply type in your title, and their AI software will get to work writing a high-quality original article for you. You'll need to review the article and take 15 to 20 minutes to make necessary edits before publishing, but you'll get free articles just for signing up, so you can try out the service and see how it works for you.
How many articles do I get free?
I already said you get 3 free articles. You should listen when I'm talking to you. Phosphor AI pricing is very reasonable for the quality of content that you'll get.
Why waste time writing the content yourself when you get Phosphor AI to do it for you? Visit them online today at Phosphor AI. Again, that's PHOSPHORAI.com.
Tech Time with Nathan Mumm. Tech Time is a weekly hour technology show that talks about current technology in a simple format without having to geek out. Brought to you by myself, Nathan Mumm, and Mike Airdate. We just had our first whiskey tasting during the break. And now let me tell you about what we are sipping in our pick of the day. During the show today, we have chosen the Idle & Stills Irish Whiskey. 80 proof, $19.99, according to Idle & Stills website. Idle & Stills is a wonderful balanced blend of triple distilled Irish whiskeys, all matured in oak casks to capture the pleasant and approachable characteristics of a true Irish whiskey. Smooth aromas of oak and gentle floral notes fill the nose, while the palate is coated with a sweet toffee grain and dried fruit taste. It's a must-try for all Irish whiskey lovers. Now, we had a whiskey on last week that we all liked, and man, I may be an Irish whiskey fan because I am enjoying.
I think you're just a whiskey fan.
I am a whiskey fan. You're absolutely correct. But I'm liking the taste of this also. Yeah, this is a Wines and More exclusive, so I'm sure Mr. Gregoire is going to just love that. I can't wait to hear his type of deal of what we got. Again, it's 80 proof. The mash bill is 100% malted barley, $19.99, and it's an Irish whiskey blend. All right, we'll see if it's going to 1 thumb, 2 thumbs, or 3 thumbs up at the end of the show. Well, with our first whiskey tasting complete, let's move on to our feature segment of today.
Welcome to the segment we call Ask the Experts, with our TechTime Radio expert, Phil Hennessy.
Today we welcome back Phil. The last time we had him on the show, we did a 5-part series of electric vehicles versus gas vehicles, all right? In this series, today we are going to be talking about space, the final frontier.
There it is, right there.
These are the voyages of Phil Hennessy, his continuing mission to bring details on technology for our Tech Time listeners.
You just can't help yourself.
Phil is a technology robotics expert.
Star Trek or Star Wars the theme today?
Well, Star Trek all the time. It's, all right.
Nathan just goes all up for Star Trek.
Star Trek. All right. Ask the experts with Phil. Phil, welcome to the show. It's been a long time since we've seen you. I know that we're really excited to talk about this. And now remember, the science of tomorrow starts with the technology of today is our tagline that we end every show with.
That's your tagline.
That is my tagline. You always say bye-bye. That's what you say. But
mine is bye-bye.
That's right. That's right.
That's my tagline.
Now, Phil, tell us a little bit about some of the research you have done regarding the James Webb Space Telescope, and then I got lots of questions to ask you.
I mean, it's one of the more complex engineering devices in space. Actually, it's the most complex, in my opinion, device in space or spacecraft in space right now. One of the most complex engineering projects that any country is undertaking. It is just, when I was watching it being launched and keeping track of its deployment, I was on pins and needles as an engineer. Were they going to pull this off with all the different ways it had to do? It's a extremely amazing device. And then what it's starting to see right now is absolutely amazing too. We'll talk about that later. But today, really excited to talk to you about the different technical engineering functions and specifications this thing has had to do for just to see this, to perform the science is what we're going to talk about today.
All right. Okay.
What it needed to be designed to perform the science.
All right, I got you. So have you ever wondered what the first galaxies look like? How about stars and planets that are born with secrets lie hidden in the dark matter and dark energy that make up our universe? Well, if you've thought about this, you're not alone. Phil has thought about this also, and he's got lots of details. Now, first, Phil, give us the overall details regarding the successor to the Hubble Space Telescope, the James Webb Telescope.
The successor of James Webb was the Hubble, as we just said, and that is a smaller spacecraft that orbits just the Earth. We'll talk about where the James Webb is. The Hubble was able to be maintained through the space shuttle. The James Webb will not be able to maintain. So we're going to talk about the complexities of that. It's a much smaller primary mirror. The James Webb is 6.5 meters, and the Hubble is 2.4 meters. What type of light or energy we're looking at is different as well. The Hubble was more on the visible spectrum and ultraviolet, and the James Webb is on the infrared side. So different wavelengths to try to see different things, and to see with the primary mirror and the different instrumentation they're putting on it, the James Webb will be able to see different things and farther.
All right, so let's talk about this. Telescopes. Is this like one? I used to watch Looney Tunes. You ever watch Looney Tunes? And you have Bugs Bunny.
I find it disturbing that you're comparing this to.
Hang on. Here's where I'm going with this. So you got Bugs Bunny. He was looking at Marvin the Martian, right? So he takes that long telescope, and it's like one long telescope, and it keeps on extending and extending. Is this telescope one telescope, or is there multiple telescopes? How is this telescope layered to start out? Oh, my God.
So I think the engineers that designed this, I'm not going to say, but anyway.
It's called the P38 modulator.
No, it's not.
It's designed as a space observatory and not just one telescope. So it has multiple instrumentation to do different functions. So if you're going to put a $10 billion spacecraft designed over 25 years into space, you want to make sure it has a lot of capability. And so we'll get into those different things, but it has the 6.5 primary mirror. It has the sun shield and heat shield, which is an amazing function of engineering just on itself. It has the actual spacecraft, which is a bus-sized type of with thrusters and communication and command and control. And then it has the actual scientific instruments. And there's 4 major instruments that are on the spacecraft.
So how does this compare to the Hubble? So the Hubble was the first one that I knew about telescoping. What type of technology is different on here than the Hubble telescope?
The instrumentation, again, we're looking at infrared versus non-infrared. So we couldn't see as far back that we can with the James Webb. The other one is that it's because of where the locations are in orbit, the James Webb is in a cooler spot per se. Cool is relative in space, but we'll talk about that too. And so you can get this infrared type of instrumentation up there that needs to be extremely cool. And because of the way it's now designed, we can take it outside. If you remember, the Hubble Space Telescope looks like a telescope. It's a round cylindrical tube. Well, if you look at the design of the James Webb, it doesn't look like a telescope in the sense of Bugs Bunny's telescope, if you want to go there. Okay. So it looks like a big parabolic mirror, and it can collect so much more information in terms of the light and the light energy to be able to see that. So it's 100 more. The James Webb is 100 times more sensitive than the Hubble.
Okay.
And there's some real fun facts we're going to go through there to do that. And again, the Hubble wasn't designed to be maintained in orbit, but because of the space shuttle, it was able to. Some very neat things they did to do that. Whereas the James Webb had to be designed to have a 10-and-a-half-year life or 10-year life without any maintenance.
Okay. I wish I could get that from my car. 10 years without any maintenance. Let me just tell you that.
Don't do anything.
That's right. All right. Now explain to me its orbit and how it stays connected with the ground.
Sure. And this is, there is it's called the L2 Lagrange point. And this is the opposite side of the sun running concentric circles with the Earth. So you have the sun, the Earth, and then the Hubble Space Telescope.
Oh, okay.
And so the Hubble, the Earth is providing shade per se, or a shadow for the Hubble Space Telescope, so we can keep it cooler. They want to keep it as cool as possible. And then, two, it gives you a direct line of sight for communication. So even though the Earth is revolving in place, well, it's revolving. We have different ground. NASA has different ground stations to always keep communication.
That's if you're not a flat Earth person, right? So if there's flat Earth, then if you're a flat Earth person,
I don't know
this
if you need to bring
out,
that
right?
into
okay,
the. You just messed it. You just made it intensely more difficult to understand what's going on.
Okay, so of course the Earth is round. So you're saying the sun is round here. It's on this side. You got the Earth in the middle.
I don't think this is so we can prove that flat Earth doesn't exist.
No,
Stop.
I'm not doing that. That's the only thing I can think of. Okay, so it stays hidden from the sun, so it stays
at
cool.
all times.
All right,
stays cool, and you have a direct line of communication from the spacecraft to Earth.
All right, so explain to me, because in Star Trek when they want to do time travel, you have to get very close to the sun, and you almost burn yourself up. So explain to me, because it all comes back to that. See, explain to me what. Yeah, that's exactly right. The sun shield. Why do we need this, and how is the heat shield to provide, I guess, the sun shield work on the satellite itself?
It's Tropicana, buddy.
Okay.
I just want to add one thing that's really kind of fun fact before we get there. The heat shield and the mirrors, between these two things, you can actually, and I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to go now that I've done the research here, is that you can actually see the JWST from Earth with a pair of binoculars or a decent telescope.
Okay.
So because of the heat shields and the mirrors are so polished and so reflective for different reasons, which we'll talk about right now, is that you can actually see it from Earth with an amateur telescope or a pair of binoculars. So that's one of the things I'm going to be doing over the next couple of weeks, is seeing if I can find it. So what are we trying to do with the heat shield? We're trying to go ahead and, again, keep it cool, because the instrumentation needs to be very close to absolute zero. And let's just talk about absolute zero real quick, right? Do you guys know what absolute zero is, what that means?
I do.
I do not.
Okay. Absolute zero means that at the molecular structure, atomic motion ceases.
Okay.
So it is so cold, you froze the atoms. Just think about that. And we want to operate that spacecraft as cool as possible, so it doesn't detect infrared energy from itself as well. So to keep it cool and from the sun and everything else, we have these 5 different sun shields. The sun shields are about the size of a tennis court, and they had to. And it's the material is Captain, which is something was designed. Invented in the 60s by DuPont, highly reflective, pretty stable in cold temperature. You still had to deal with all of that. And it's thinner than a human hair. And there's 5 of these layers that are spaced out. And it takes from hot side to cold side, it drops the temperature down over 600 degrees Fahrenheit in less than 15 feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's the engineering, like I said, is amazing. Now think about this too. All right, now you're keeping the spacecraft cool on the one side. On the mirror side, it's so much cooler. It's less than negative 370 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, on the cool side.
Sure.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. And then on the hot side, obviously the other way. But then you had to deploy this.
How do they get deployed?
Unfurl it. They unfurled it. And I have a stat here that just blew my mind, and I'm not going to remember it, so I need to read this for you guys. The James Webb unfolding and tensioning of the sun shield involved 139 release mechanisms, 70 hinge assemblies, 8 deployment motors, over 400 pulleys, 90 individual cables, totaling roughly 1/4 of a mile in length.
Wow.
So this thing had to deploy out to the size of a tennis court, 5 different layers. The layers are as thin as a human hair. Oh, actually thinner than a human hair, excuse me. Thinner than a human hair. And then this material is so temperature robust, it can cool down keep the spacecraft cool by dropping the temperature across those five layers 600 degrees.
All right, so let's talk about how's this satellite powered, right? So my first instinct is it's going to be solar powered because you have the access to that sun that's available there. That makes sense, wouldn't it? But I'm going to go to the expert. How is the telescope powered?
Well, it's absolutely true statement. So they have to find this balance of the orbit, which, again, I'm not sure how they're doing this, but you're not in a pure shadow of the Earth, right? You're in there, you're blocking a lot of the sun, but you're still getting sunlight. So that's how you need the heat shield, first of all. And then you're able to go ahead. The spacecraft uses around 2,000 watts, and the solar power panels are designed for 2.5 kilowatts. So they have some margin there on the spacecraft, and they're able to generate the power they need.
All right.
So they're able to generate the power they need to do that. And I just want to come back. I want to quote one of the actually Greg Robinson, who is the Webb's program director, and actually a systems engineer too, because it's just pretty interesting, their perspective, right? Thousands of parts had with precision for the marvel engineering to fully unfurl. Basically, they had to, with another systems engineer's quote, is they had to build the spacecraft, build the telescope, and then they had to collapse it all down, and then they had to rebuild it in space robotically, and you can't go and fix it.
That is amazing if you think about it. Because if you did make a mistake, then
there was nobody standing there with an iPad.
That's right, to help you take care of it.
If anything jammed up, think of all those things we just talked about for the sun shield. We're not even talking about the deployment of the mirror, the primary mirror yet. So just the sun shield, all that things that had to work. If it didn't work, the instrumentation wouldn't have worked.
All right, so speaking about the mirror, let's talk about the mirror. What's unique about the mirror on the JWST?
Sure, it's the largest mirror system right now in the world, in space right now. Excuse me. It's made out of a material called beryllium, which is lighter than it is very good in cold. And goes ahead and will it can get very polished. All right, so it's light, it's strong, can handle the cold, and they can coat it with gold.
Wow! And
so they need to coat it with gold and polish it up as high as they can, because they need as much reflectivity can. That mirror, a normal mirror, to give perspective, is an 85% reflectivity of the light.
Okay.
This mirror is 98% reflectivity.
Wow.
So it has 18 segments. It's 21 feet across. So again, you had to go ahead and deploy this and unwind it again. And it was just...
So this is like the biggest origami event ever.
This is a transformer.
That's exactly what I'm getting, right?
It went into space as a boombox, and
then it transformed into the satellite device that was available there.
That's right.
And then the engineering, the seams of the mirror had to be, I think I read the stat was, to be close together. These 18 hexagonal segments had to be 1 670 thousandths of an inch close. It was like, I don't know, like of a piece of paper, 670 thousandths thickness of a piece of paper. So the seams are basically non-existent, is my point.
So it's like way better than any PM television local newscaster where they have that big bar between all the TVs they put together. So essentially it's right there, close and taken care of.
Man, where you get your reference
My
points?
analogies. Just kidding. All right, so the biggest part here is, where were these telescopes mirrors made?
They were made in Ohio.
What? American-made mirrors?
American-made mirrors. It took them 25 years to do between the start of the design and manufacture.
Wow.
25 years.
All right.
I mean, this has been going on forever. It's a $10 billion spacecraft.
Okay. Now, well, don't you worry, because Phil will be back next week. What are we going to be talking about next week regarding the James Webb Telescope?
Well, I would really like to geek out and talk about the instrumentation next week.
Okay, and what does that include? A little bit preview here.
Sure, there's 4 different instrumentations on the telescope, and we're going to talk about what each one does, how it does, what it can see, what it can't. Some of these instrumentation can see a bumblebee on the moon.
Wow!
Not that there's a bumblebee on the moon.
Not the transformer version.
It doesn't have a transporter.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking.
No transporter.
Okay. All right. No transporter.
It doesn't generate a shield.
Okay. Well. All right. Well, Phil, thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to look to have you on next week to continue more information on the technology that's on the James Webb Space Telescope. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
All right, let me just tell you, Phil and I, when we do these pre-meetings, man, he geeks out. Although I did not know, did you notice he had a little nervous twitch with his pen? Yeah, we're going to have to, I'll say, hey, you have to leave the pen down. All right, well, that ends our segment, Ask the Expert with Phil. Up next, we have This Week in Technology. So now would be a great time to enjoy a little whiskey on the side, as we will be doing so during the break. You're listening to Tech Time Radio with Nathan Mumm. See you in a few minutes.
This is Marc.
And Greg.
For Copiers Northwest.
With a terrific offer.
Called Printer Care Plus.
It's simple. Buy HP printer cartridges from Copiers Northwest and we'll service your current printers for free.
That sounds too good to be true.
It's made possible due to our HP Copiers Northwest relationship.
Copiers Northwest is an HP Platinum partner.
One of only 2 in the entire Northwest.
And now with Printer Care Plus,
Copiers Northwest will provide free printer service.
As long as they purchase genuine HP cartridges from Copiers Northwest.
That's right. IT departments no longer have to service printers.
Or fix paper jams with Printer Care Plus.
They can focus on more strategic initiatives.
And let our experienced technicians keep their HP printers up and running.
Sounds like a love-love relationship for IT departments.
Don't get too carried away. So how do they get more details on Printer Care Plus?
Call Copiers Northwest today, 206-282-1200, or visit copiersnw.com.
Copiers Northwest. New ideas, new solutions.
And now, let's look back at this week in technology.
Today we're looking back at March 23rd, 2001. The Russian space station Mir burns up in the Earth's atmosphere after 15 years in orbit. The debris isn't burned up safely, though, as it falls into the Pacific Ocean between Chile and New Zealand, in a region from which governments had routed planes and ships away to make sure no one was hit. The station, which was launched in 1986, far exceeded its intended lifespan of 5 years. That was This Week in Technology. Have you ever wanted to watch some Tech Time history? With over 2 years of video, podcasts, and blog information, you can visit TechTime-Radio.com to watch our older shows or join the Tech Timers Facebook group. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we have the Marc Mumble Whiskey Review and our Technology Fail of the Week, along with our Letters segment. We'll see you after the break.
Hello, my name is Arthur, and my life's work is connecting people with coffee. StoriCoffee is a small batch specialty coffee company that uses technology to connect people to each product resource, which allows farmers to unlock their economic freedom. Try our Medium Roast Founder Series coffee, which is an exotic bourbon variety that is smooth, fresh, and elegant at StoriCoffee.com. That's STORI coffee.com. Today you can get your first bag free when you subscribe at StoriCoffee.com with code TechTime. That's STORI coffee.com.
The segment we've been waiting all week for, Marc's Whiskey Mumble.
All right, so today is March 21st. Can you guess what today is?
I have no idea. I don't know where Marc gets his stuff, so I have no idea. What is today?
Today is Big Bang Day.
Okay.
Now that's because that's because it's the anniversary of the Planck collaboration's first all-sky map. The astute discovery presented a coherent selection of cosmic microwave background radiation and confirmed the standard model of cosmology.
Wow.
We are encouraged to think beyond our little boxes and attempt to unfurl the great mysteries of our lives while sipping on some whiskey.
Okay, thanks, Marc,
this is
for
not
that.
about the Big Bang Theory
TV show. Okay, all right.
So Marc's Mumbles for today. On the Eyed and Stills Irish whiskey. Pot still whiskey is a uniquely Irish style of whiskey with exceptional fruit and spice characteristics and a luxurious creamy texture. It is made by combining both malted and unmalted barley in the mash bill prior to fermentation and then distilling in traditional copper pot stills. And did you know that the E in the whiskey came about when a few Dublin distillers introduced it as a way of differentiating their pure pot still Irish whiskey from what they considered to be inferior blended Scotch whiskey.
Okay.
And that was spelled Whisky. To continue the celebration of St. Paddy's Day, Nathan selected Eyed and Stills. Once again, this is a blended Irish whiskey, not single malt, and is only sold at Total Wine and More. As part of their Spirits Direct program. Sorry, Irish whiskey fans, no quality single malts like Green Spot or Redbreast. 15 for you on this show.
All right, so
that means he doesn't.
Is he saying he doesn't like it?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know.
I'm not a big fan of this one.
You're not a big fan, and your whiskey's already gone.
Well, it's already gone.
But you're not a fan of it, okay?
No,
okay.
No, the finish is blotted out by the burn.
All right. Well, Marc, thanks for that, Mumble. As we move on in the show, we have our segment Letters to start right now.
Letters, we get letters. We get back and back of letters. Oh, letters, we get letters. And the letters all have stars.
All right. In our letter segments, we share this week's informative emails that we've received myself personally during the week. This includes scams, phishing emails, and all-out mistruths disguised as legitimate emails. Okay, I'll start with mine first.
You go ahead.
All right, so my first letter I have is a letter that comes to us from WCR57. It says McAfee renewal. Okay, subscription alert. Show image here. Your computer has been infected with a local area virus. We do not want to alarm you, but we are able to remove it. If you contact us at this number, they have a number here, we will be able to help assist you with all your service needs. Now, this specific email triggered a friend of mine that I know.
Mm-hmm.
He got this email in his inbox, and he thought, wow, you know what? Our McAfee subscription is getting close because he had McAfee and wasn't listening and didn't use Windows Defender.
Why did he get McAfee?
Well, I don't know why he got McAfee, but essentially he thought that it was an actual renewal. So he calls them up. During this time, they open up his computer, and they go to the Microsoft Event Viewer. Now, Microsoft Event Viewer is this tool that has all these alerts, these red stop signs. It's got these yellow exclamation yield marks. It's got a couple services that are started. And what they do is they use someone when they say, we need to remote into your machine. They get access to your machine, and then they start showing you all these errors in your event viewer.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at these event viewers as a standard individual, you may look at this and say, wow, I guess I do have a bunch of errors. I need to have them taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Now, during this time, they start running checks. And what they're doing is they're injecting your computer with a malware virus on the back-end system into your machine itself. And then they start looking at your whole network while you're doing this, and they see if there's any other machines that can they can then infect. Now, they ask you to pay for a credit card this transaction. Now, this individual thought he was really creative and said, well, I'm not going to give you my credit card over the phone. So what they said is, well, then we can work with this at a reduced discount if you go to the store and buy some Google Play cards. Now, he thought he was circumventing being scammed.
He
left his computer already is exposed. He leaves his computer for 20 minutes and runs to the store. During this time, these people have full access to his computer, everything on the network itself. They downloaded his files. They downloaded his information. They looked and tried to log on to the websites for any cryptocurrency aspects, any banking information, and they tried everything they could while he was gone to get into his system and to cause havoc financially for themselves so they can gain information regarding this individual. He comes on back 20 minutes later. They ask for the Google card numbers. He said that he's not going to take a picture and send it to them. They already have full access to his computer right now, right? Mm-hmm. So they're already doing due diligence. He says he'll only talk with them over the phone to give them the actual information. So he then talks with them on the phone as they have access to his computer, gives them $400 in Google cards, and infects his computer to the point where his computer hard drive was completely invaded, where he has to throw away his computer, one of his computers.
He paid $400 to have his computer busted up.
Busted away and thrown away. So my deal here is do not click on any action item that says you need to subscribe.
Yeah,
all right.
We've talked about this tons of times, and it's really because they take advantage of human nature.
They do. All right. Well, we're going to.
I don't think we really have time to talk about it.
I did a little bit on my longer one, so we're going to let's go to Mike's mesmerizing moment then.
This is Mike's mesmerizing moment, presented by StoriCoffee. Visit StoriCoffee.com.
Now, I have a trip coming on up, so I need to ask this question here. And the only way I get them is on the on-air question. Are you a roller or stacker when it comes to packing a suitcase?
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, this is this is mesmerizing.
Are you?
Because
how is that mesmerizing?
Because I heard there's a whole different psychology on how you either stack your clothes if you pack them or if you roll them.
You want me to describe a personality that goes with each?
Well, I want, yeah. So do you roll or do you stack?
I stack. I fold and stack part of my luggage, and I roll other parts of my luggage.
So you're a combination. So you can't just do one way or the other.
That's right.
Well, so the study says that if you're a roller, you're more extroverted, that you're ready to go for the adventure. You're much more of a go-getter versus the stacker, which is the conservative, analytical individual of doing that certain.
What study are you referencing?
A study that was posted on the web.
Because I'm not real sure how you can correlate your extroversion or introversion with how you roll or stack your clothes.
Okay, but as you said,
because I'm a terminal introvert.
Yes, you are.
Right?
Yeah.
But I was taught how to pack a suitcase.
Okay.
By stacking.
And
over the years, I have learned about rolling.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a terminal introvert.
Well, there's studies out there that would say that if you stack,
I'm not. First I would have to read that study.
Okay.
And then see where it came from.
Okay.
And see if it's an actual peer-reviewed study, and how they got to this conclusion. Because for me, this was not based on my personality. It was based on how I was raised versus what I learned as I grew up.
Okay.
So this was a nature, not a nurture argument. I learned how to pack a suitcase through nurture.
Was your father in the military?
My father was in the military.
So he taught you stacking.
So he taught me stacking.
Because that military base is stacking.
Stacking is military.
That is correct. All right. Well, I didn't get to my Nathan Nugget. That was about Netflix releasing its 40 new games in 2023. We'll try to talk about that. The Netflix app is just the craziest app to download games from, and so I was going to kind of pick on it. We did not even get to our technology fail. It's about Tesla. We're going to talk about that next week, but we did get through our whiskey. I am going to give this whiskey a thumbs up myself. I like it. I think the Ide and Stills Irish whiskey is definitely a thumbs up for Nathan. What does Micro Day say?
No, thumbs down.
Thumbs down. And what is...
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. So we got 2 thumbs up and 1 thumbs down. Well, remember, the science of tomorrow starts with the technology of today. Thanks for joining our show.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on TechTime Radio. We hope that you had a chance to have that moment today in technology. The fun doesn't stop there. We recommend that you go to TechTimeRadio.com and join our fan list for the most important aspect of staying connected and winning some really great monthly prizes. We also have a few other ways to stay connected, including subscribing to our podcast on any podcast service, from Apple to Google and everything in between. We're also on YouTube, so check us out on youtube.com/TechTimeRadio, all one word. We hope you enjoyed the show as much as we did making it for you. From all of us at TechTime Radio, remember, Mumm's the word. Have a safe and fantastic week.